What does the World Cup teach us about marriage? I mean, right now your husband might be glued to the television, right? He's watching every game and you're noticing something, right? Maybe he's cheering for his team, he's invested, he's present, and there's this part of you that's thinking, wow, I wish he showed up like that for us. But what if the World Cup is actually showing you something that you need to see about your own marriage? So I'm Coach Carol. Come with me on this. What makes a winning team? Well, you know what's fascinating about the World Cup? A great team is never just 11 great individual players, right? It's 11 players who know their role. They trust each other. They move together. They understand the game is bigger than any one person. And here's what really struck me. The players don't do all the same thing, right? The goalie doesn't run the midfield, right? The defense doesn't score goals. Each person plays their position with excellence, like staying on their own paper, as I say. And the team wins because they're coordinated. So I started thinking about this and I thought, well, what if marriage works the same way? Not, we need to do the same thing, like he's wrong because he's different. No, actually, we each have a role, and when we play it well, together we win. That's the thing. It's different, but not wrong. We're different, but not wrong. So here's where couples usually get stuck, and I'm speaking from experience here. You come into your marriage thinking, we should want the same things. We should feel the same way about everything. We should be interested in the same things. So when he wants to watch the World Cup and you don't care about soccer, or when you want to talk about feelings and he wants to be quiet and watch a movie, or when you're ready to plan the week and he's really not interested in sitting down and doing that, you think something's wrong. You think the problem is that he doesn't care. You think the problem is that you're not connected. You think the problem is that he should just want what you want. But that's not what a winning team looks like. A winning team is made up of different people with different strengths, different roles, and different ways of showing up. And when each person excels in their own position, not someone else's, the magic happens. So I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this. What if the problem in your marriage isn't that your husband doesn't care? What if the problem is that you're standing in his position? So let me talk about this more carefully because this changed everything for me. There are two core positions in marriage, and most wives that I work with are occupying the wrong one. The first position is leadership. This is the CEO position. It's the authority. It's the responsibility to provide, to protect, to lead the family. And this is the position that your husband was designed to play. The second position is more of the COO I talk about, right? This is where a wife actually has all her power. But most wives have never been trained to recognize that it is power, because it doesn't really look like that according to what the world calls power. So it's not the power of control, and it's not the power of decision making necessarily, and it's the power of trust. It's the power of receiving, of invitation, even of surrender. When a wife steps fully into her position of influence, when she releases the decisions that aren't hers to make and instead trusts her husband with his role, something profound happens. Her trust invites him to step into leadership. Her receiving invites him to provide and to create her desires. And her belief in him invites him to become. But here's the thing, and this is important. You cannot be in both positions at the same time. If you're the decision maker, he becomes passive. And if you're the emotional manager, he becomes confused about his role. And if you're the one with the plan, he stops planning. He becomes what the dynamic makes him become. He is often emasculated and does less. So when I ask myself, well, why isn't my husband stepping up? I first ask, have I made room for him to step up? Or am I standing in his position? And I'm telling you, for me and for my clients, for every wife I work with, the answer is usually the same. She's in his position. I totally lived this for years, right? I was in the leadership position and I didn't think I was being controlling. I thought that he wasn't leading, so I had to. I thought I was being responsible, and I thought that I was trying to save the marriage. I thought if I made the right decisions, planned the right way, pushed the right direction, well, my husband would finally step up, right? That he would finally care. He would finally be the man that I needed him to be. But what actually happened? He stepped back. And not because he didn't care about the marriage, but because his position was occupied by me. I was so busy trying to lead that I never let him actually lead. I was the one in the control seat making the decisions. I was the one with the 5-year plan, my 5-year plan. I was the one trying to convince him to do things my way. And I was exhausted. And here's what I didn't understand at the time. My job wasn't to make him the leader. My job was to trust him with the leadership and to play my own role, my more feminine role, with excellence. And the moment I did that, the moment I released the decisions that weren't mine and trusted him with his, something shifted. He started stepping up. He started making decisions. He started leading in his own way. Not my way, his way. And I was okay with that because it turned out that I wasn't right about everything. He actually had great ideas and it felt so good to be taken care of. So it's not that necessarily he changed first, right? I changed first. It's true. Yes. So when you play your position, right, what happens when that wife releases the leadership position and steps into her position of influence, right? Several things. She stops feeling responsible for her husband's engagement, and she's no longer trying to convince him to care. She's not trying to drag him along. She's playing her part, and she trusts him to play his. And that weight lifts off her shoulders, and she realizes that he cared the entire time, but she was blocking it. She discovers real power, not the power of control. That kind of power is actually pretty weak. But real power is the power of trust, femininity, invitation, surrender. That kind of power, that actually makes a man step up. Her husband begins to step in, right? Maybe slowly, maybe not immediately, but because there's finally space for him to lead, because his position isn't occupied anymore, he does. I see it over and over. Not because she's nagging him, not because she finally said the magic words, but because she trusted him. And trust creates space, and then the marriage begins to transform. Not because he suddenly became a different man, not because he went to therapy or read a book or had some big realization, because she became a different woman. A woman who trusts, a woman who receives, a woman who is a safe space, instead of a woman who controls, manages, criticizes, demands. When she changes, he responds every single time. I have seen it with clients over and over. And here's the thing about marriage that the world will never tell you. Your marriage is not a contract that you signed because you were in love. Your marriage is a vocation. It's a calling from God. And like any calling, it requires that you show up as yourself, fully, courageously, in your own role, not as a watered-down version of someone else. God created you to be the woman that your husband needs. Yes, he needs you. You need each other. It's a beautiful thing when we let our walls down. And that woman, she's not the one trying to do his job. She's the one who trusts him, right? She's the one who brings her own excellence, her own strength, her true self, her own wisdom. But she brings it in a way that invites him to be himself too. That's how a marriage wins. Not when one person is doing everything, but when each person knows their position and plays it with excellence and trust. So this week, I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with the answer honestly, without judgment. What is your position? And where have you been trying to play his? Maybe you're the one making all the decisions. Maybe you're the one like doing everything, getting exhausted and complaining a bit, right? Feeling resentful. Maybe you're the one with that 5-year plan and he's just kind of following along, right? None of that's wrong. Don't go to judgment. But what if it's not your job? What if the moment you step back into your feminine genius, your position, your husband steps into his, Here's what I know from my own marriage and from working with hundreds and hundreds of wives, that is true, right? It is totally true. When you trust, he's going to step up. When you release control, he's going to take responsibility. When you stop trying to fix everything, he is going to start doing it. It's not magic. It's just what happens when the dynamic shifts, right? And if you're ready to learn what that position looks like and how to stay in it when everything that you want, right, to be able to take over again, I want to invite you to something special. I have a free webinar called How Successful Catholic Wives Can Restore Peace and Renew Their Marriage Without Dragging Him to Therapy. The link is in the description below. And in that conversation, we're going to go deep into what it actually looks like to trust your husband with his position while you're in your own. So we're going to talk about what you can do, not to change him, but to change you in a way that changes everything, in a very powerful way. It's amazing, right? It's so counterintuitive. So if you want that kind of transformation, if you're tired of carrying the weight alone and feeling like a victim, if you're ready to discover your real power, don't miss the webinar. All right, the link is down below. And you can join my new Skool Community. That link is below too. Come and join us there. Your marriage is a vocation, ladies, and vocations are meant to flourish. Be sure to like and subscribe this video so that you get more content, because you are meant, right? Marriage is meant to be lived with joy, and you can have that. Your husband is there. God is there. And you get to step into your role knowing that the outcome is not all on your shoulders. I see it all the time, right? So cheers to the World Cup. Cheers to happy, thriving marriages. Take good care, and God bless.